out here. We're in front of Air Force One. You know, Reagan is obviously very famous for strong defense, and I was curious if you could talk a little bit about, him traveling the world, and for him what it meant to have a strong defense and to really achieve peace through strength.
By increasing the output, the production, the buildup of the military in the United States, he put a lot of economic pressure on the Soviet Union. That they couldn't counter that. They just didn't have the economic infrastructure, and they knew that, and Ronald Reagan knew that they couldn't keep up. And that ultimately, the more they built up the military, the stronger they made it, the more compromising a position it put the Soviets in. And he knew that eventually they would have to come to the table and work with him because they just couldn't sustain it at the same pace that the United States could. And, part of what made his use of Air Force One so important was he really believed in face-to-face diplomacy. He really believed that if he could sit down with the leaders of the Soviet Union and talk to them on a human level, that the madness of mutually assured destruction, could be put aside, and we could actually work towards, hey, let's get rid of nuclear weapons, let's make this world a safer place. And so he racked up almost 700,000 miles and had a number of summits with Mikhail Gorbachev, and obviously they were a little bit skeptical of each other at first, but they ended up becoming friends and changing the world and reducing nuclear armaments for the first time in the history of nuclear arms. He really wanted to reduce tax rates, and his idea was that the way to stimulate the economy is get more money in the pocket of the consumers, who can then go out and spend it in the way they want, not to have that money go to the government, who spends it, I guess, as they want. And so, really, that was a pretty simple economic theory, right? That the more money you have in your pocket, the more you're going to go out and spend. The more businesses can kind of compete for the dollars of the consumer. You give people the money that they earn through work, and they'll spend it in ways that drive the economy and spend it in ways that make their lives better. And for him, that was really important. He restored America's faith in itself. We talked about what was happening in the 70s and before he came into office. And when he left in the late 80s, the economy was more prosperous, the military was stronger. I think people generally had a little bit more faith in America than when he entered. So the idea of, he helped build that shining city on a hill that he had talked about his whole life, and left people feeling like they were there. And he ended the Cold War without firing a single shot. People had portrayed him as kind of like this extremist, like this, kind of gunslinging cowboy who was coming in, but he didn't get us into a major conflict, and he built up the military, but it was through that peace through strength that he was able to bring the Cold War to an end, and then we've seen what happened with Soviet Russia, and just a few short years later, the wall came down.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Tear down this wall.